Good evening, grade 8. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read chapter 4, which kind of summarized Tom, the author's story, and why he found this so important to him to think positively and to fill buckets. Today I'm going to read to you chapter 5, which is entitled Making It Personal. Dave will probably join us. The personal story you just read is admittedly unusual, but there are countless examples of people whose lives were made better and more productive by frequent bucket filling. In fact, you can see this happening in great workplaces all the time. Remember that customer service representative in chapter 2 who treated you so well when you called in with a problem? Let's say you were so impressed that you asked for his name, which you found out was Ted. And let's also say that you called back later to tell Ted's supervisor what he had done to win you over. As you were giving details about Ted's friendly voice or his ability to relate to your problem, his supervisor was scribbling notes as fast as he possibly could. 30 minutes later, as Ted completed a call in which he won over yet another irate customer, yes, he does this all day, he got an email message from his boss. The first thing Ted noticed when he opened the message was that his boss had copied a group of Ted's closest friends from work on the email. The subject line read, "You made a difference today." Ted's eyes immediately moved to the text of the message, where his supervisor described exactly what Ted had done to win you over. As he detailed the scenario for Ted and his peers, he dropped in several direct quotes from your conversation. Ted's supervisor ended the note by explaining how Ted's actions not only satisfied a customer, but also made that person's day a lot easier. As Ted was reading the note, he could barely contain the giant grin on his face. Though fatigued from a long workday in which multiple customers berated him, he was suddenly rejuvenated by the message. Ted's boss knew the key to great bucket filling. Recognition is most appreciated and effective when it is individualized, specific, and deserved. Clearly, he understood that writing an email and copying Ted's peers would give Ted a real boost. And perhaps Ted's boss also knows that the same approach won't work for Ted's colleagues, some of whom may prefer a quick pat on the back or perhaps more boisterous praise in a meeting. The point is, there are unique and specific ways to fill each person's bucket, and most certainly inappropriate ways as well. Generic one-size-fits-all awards don't work. Neither does recognition that seems forced or false. Sometimes the recognition you think will inspire an employee backfires in the worst and most public way. The nightmare scenario. Consider the true story of Susan, a manager, and her stellar customer service representative, Matt. The following events transpired at a large insurance company that Gallup consulted with several years ago. When Susan became a division manager in this organization, she quickly learned that her success would hinge on her ability to inspire her customer service group towards better performance. At one point in her career, Susan was a customer service rep herself, and she just loved to win big awards and hear the ovations when she stood up in front of a crowd of her colleagues. During the workday, she would look up at some of her favorite certificates on the wall and remember the rush she felt from winning an award. That really got her going. So, Susan decided to set up a major awards ceremony to recognize her customer service reps. She held the event at the finest hotel in the city. She invited all of the reps and their families to the celebration, and she hired a well-known speaker and entertainer. The last portion of the program was the major year-end recognition for the individual reps with the best annual performances. To further highlight Matt, the top producer, Susan would save the award for last. She wanted that presentation to be the night's main event. The drape-covered easel on the stage inspired a lot of chatter and anticipation. Susan hoped this award would motivate Matt for years to come, so before announcing that Matt was the top producer, Susan detailed a long list of all the star employees' accomplishments and showered him with praise. Then she pulled the drape off the award and held the prize over her head as she read Matt's name. This was the moment Susan had been scripting in her head for the past few weeks. She had even imagined the delighted look on Matt's face. But to Susan's amazement, just the opposite happened. Matt was furious. The painful expression on his face and his hostile body language spoke volumes. The angry rep walked to the microphone and proceeded to tell the group that he didn't even want the award. It was just another award to hang on the wall and had no meaning for him. Plus, he had a bunch already. He didn't need one more. It was one of the worst nights of Susan's life. Not only had this debacle hurt the morale of the group, Susan now needed to figure out a way to win back her best customer service representative. So, after Susan got over the shock of the ordeal, she started to think about how she could acknowledge Matt in the future. This is called a one-size-does-not-fit-all approach. Susan started by learning more about Matt. She discovered that this star employee loved nothing more than his 2 young daughters. Whenever Matt talked about them, his face lit up. At the office, he was always showing off the newest pictures of his daughters. The next year, Matt was again one of the top customer service reps, and this time Susan was determined to get the awards ceremony right. She had called Matt's wife and asked her to take the 2 girls to a professional photographer in the area for a formal portrait and to keep it a secret. When the big night rolled around, everything was in place. Susan began the ceremony by talking about a very special man. She described not only the top customer service rep, but the passionate family man as well. Then Susan unveiled the beautiful portrait of Matt's 2 lovely daughters. Matt walked up on stage and gave Susan a big hug. His eyes were filled with tears. Everyone in the room was moved. Matt couldn't have imagined a more meaningful and personal kind of recognition. It changed the way he looked at his boss and job forever. Individualize, individualize, individualize. The lesson here is clear. If you want people to understand that you value their contributions and that they are important, the recognition and praise you provide must have meaning that is specific to each individual. Not only is individualized bucket filling more effective in boosting productivity in the workplace, it builds sustainable relationships and changes people's lives forever. So that's the end of chapter 5. And what I want you to answer in this reading log is I want you to tell me what is individual. What would be an individual bucket fill for you? What would someone say to you that would be meaningful and individual and specific for you? Okay, until chapter 6. See you soon, grade 8. Ciao for now.